Hello everyone, in this video clip we are going to demonstrate the direct and consensual pupillary light reflex. This short clip also demonstrates relative afferent pupillary defect and efferent pupillary defect. Subjects are instructed to look into distance and examination performed in a dim lit room. Ideally, a partition is to be placed in the mid of the face to obstruct the light falling on both the eyes simultaneously. But to simplify the procedure, this precaution is not taken. This subject is a 22-year-old healthy boy. Here we can see the right pupil constricting on shining torchlight onto it. Similarly, left pupil constrict on shining the torchlight. This is the direct pupillary light reflex. Now focus mainly on the red glue on the subject's right eye. We can appreciate the constricting pupil against the red glow of fundus on showing torchlight onto the left eye. Similarly, the process is demonstrated on the other eye. Now this subject 50-year male has dilated left eye. On showing torchlight on right eye, we can appreciate the direct pupillary light reflex, but no consensual light reflex in the dilated left eye. In the other hand, on showing torchlight on the dilated left eye, no direct reflex can be appreciated, but consensual light reflex can be appreciated on right eye. This is suggestive of efferent pupillary defect of left eye. Coming to our final demonstration, this subject is a 48-year female diagnosed with choroidal melanoma with mature cataract right eye. We can appreciate the equal and normal sized pupils of the patient. In this patient, we can see the dilating right eye pupil on swinging the torchlight from left eye to right eye. This is known as afferent pupillary defect. And what is relative afferent pupillary defect? It is demonstrated in our fourth subject, where the direct pupillary reflex is present in the presence of an afferent pupillary defect in left eye. That is, the afferent pupillary defect is relative. Sustained dilatation with no constriction on prolonged illumination is suggestive of higher degree of relative afferent pupillary defect. We can conclude with these demonstrations that the pupillary size remains same in an afferent defect, and the affected pupil remain dilated with resulting anisocoria in efferent pupillary defect. We need to have a thorough knowledge of the anatomy of the pupillary pathway to decipher the location of the diseases affecting pupillary reflexes. Thank you.